Sometimes your day in boating will go perfectly, and other times, well, it won't, and it'll be quite the shocking experience, just like this crew found out down in Cocoa Beach when they were on the hook on their sailboat when all of a sudden their vessel wound up breaking free and running into some power lines, as seen in the images here. Fortunately, the person who's on the boat was able to vacate and jump into the water and swim back to shore without injury, but just one of the wild scenes we're going to witness in this week's episode of Boating News of the Week. Our first story to make the boating news this week is going to take us over to California, where this was the scene at North Santa Cruz Harbor back during Christmas week, when all of a sudden some random weather sent massive waves rolling through the harbor, creating mass destruction to the North Harbor Marina docks and boats. Now, as we mentioned, this incident did occur several weeks ago, and the Santa Cruz Harbor crews have been working diligently on trying to clean the mess up, and so far most of the floating debris, damaged docks, and boats have been removed from the water. And crews are hoping to do a harbor scan sometime in the next week to go ahead and try and see how many vessels may have sunk during this incident so they can get those boats removed so they can begin to rebuild and they're not a navigational hazard. Now, all the boats seen in the images here that remained afloat have been moved to new spots at this time. According to a report from the North Harbor Harbor Master, there were originally approximately 400 slips in the marina seen here, and currently at this time there are about 300 remaining, meaning 100 were damaged during the incident. The Harbor Master claims that the damage ranges anywhere from broken pilings and rings, which could be considered minor damage, all the way up to the docks being completely gone. At this time, the harbor crews had began work repairing the docks with minor damage, but as for the docks that have been completely destroyed, they don't have a timeline yet on when they expect them to actually be replaced. According to the reports, there were no injuries reported at the marina during the incident. Our next story to make the boating news this week is going to take us over to Australia, where this was the scene on New Year's Eve night, as families were out watching New Year's Eve fireworks in Sydney Harbor when all of a sudden one family caught a surprise as they witnessed a boat right in front of them wind up capsizing with 3 people on board. As you can see in the images here, this boat is completely upside down at this point in time. You can tell by the bow lights being under the water. Now, unfortunately for this crew, almost every other vessel you see out here in Sydney Harbor happened to be distracted by the fireworks display that was going on at the time. The eyewitnesses who were recording the images here wound up witnessing it because it happened right in front of them, and they were able to pull alongside the vessel and pull the 3 people out of the water. Fortunately, all 3 people were wearing their life jackets, and actually witnesses claim the life jackets saved at least 2 of their lives, as 2 of the people who were on board the boat were a little bit older, and even with the life jackets, they were struggling to stay afloat. Sydney Harbor Police were alerted to the incident. By the time they arrived to the scene, the vessel had sunk completely and the people had already been rescued by the Good Samaritans. Our next story to make the boating news this week is going to keep us over in Australia, where this was the scene just a little over a week ago when 9 people had to be rescued approximately 5.5 kilometers off the coast of Swansea Heads in New South Wales. The crew was out enjoying a day of diving when all of a sudden they began to return back to the vessel to find their boat was taking on water and at risk of sinking and capsizing. Fortunately, when the divers got back to the vessel, there was still power on the boat and they were able to use the radio to send out a distress call. Local marine services quickly launched 3 vessels, a 30-foot marine rescue vessel, and 2 jet skis to the scene. They were able to successfully get all 9 divers pulled from the water and onto the rescue vessel and brought back to land safely. They did also return back out and were able to hook up a tow line to the sinking dive vessel you can see in the images here and get it towed back into port as well. Thanks for watching, crew. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Boating News of the Week. If you ever see anything crazy happening on your waterways, be sure to hit us up on Facebook or Instagram and let us know, and you might see your stories over here. Just like Carrie Uranus, Chris Hoffman, and Alex Poot did this week. And if you guys haven't already, go ahead and drop an anchor on the subscribe button here. If not, we're coming to steal your drain plug.